Hey everyone, Catherine here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking all about the third eye chakra. It's a lot of people's favorite chakra, even though they're all equally important, but this one is kind of fun, so we're going to go through all of that today. Please keep in mind that the majority of this information is channeled through meditation, minus the name and like the color associated with it. So it's just a personal opinion from things that I've downloaded. So if it resonates with you, then great. And if not, that's okay too. If you need personalized coaching or energy healing, then you can check out my website and I'll link it down below. The third eye chakra is the sixth chakra located above the root chakra, or it's the second chakra from the top if you consider the top to be the crown. Even though there's more chakras, we're just kind of concentrating on the 7 chakra system for now because that's the basic one that most people understand. But this chakra is located in the middle of your forehead or the pineal gland, which is in the brain. The color that it's associated with is indigo, and the Sanskrit name for it is ajna, which means command or perceive. So when I asked for information about the third eye chakra to share with you guys, I got this visual of me meditating, and when I close my eyes, my third eye opens. And when my third eye opens, it goes from this physical space that you see to like a weird negative, like I'm in a negative void. And when my third eye opens, it's like this icy blue color. And so even though the third eye is associated with the color indigo, the way I see it is like an icy blue, which I mean, I guess it's debatable if that is indigo or if it's more of a purpley shade or like a dark blue. I don't know. But this is the visual that I get. And so my third eye opens, my physical eyes are closed. And then when I look around with my third eye, I can see entities, interdimensional beings. I can astral travel, can go visit like the Akashic records. Like you can just see all of these things that you wouldn't normally see with your physical eyes. And so this particular chakra is difficult to activate if you are one who doesn't believe in intuition or entities or psychic abilities or anything like that. It probably will be activated, every once in a while, on occasion, on accident. But for the most part, it's just obviously you're not going to be even caring about the third eye if you just don't believe in any of this anyway. But this is the energy center that governs your ability to connect with the unseen forces. So your gut feeling, your intuition, if you step into a room and you just get like a vibe or you feel like someone's watching you, you're likely activating your third eye chakra. And so I have mentioned this in a previous video about the 5 psychic senses, which are often called the clairs. So you have clairsentience, clairaudience, claircognizance, clairaudience, and clairgustance. So it's literally just pretty much all of your 5 senses except psychically, except for claircognizance, which is like a knowing, just a knowing. But anytime you are activating or using any of these psychic senses, you are also activating the third eye chakra because this is what it's in charge of. And since everyone has a third eye, whether they believe in it or not, they also have psychic abilities. And for people who don't really believe in psychic abilities, they will write off these weird experiences as coincidences. So if they're thinking about someone and then 5 seconds later, that same person calls them, they're going to call it a coincidence, but we are going to call that a psychic ability. If anything, that's probably maybe precognition. Regardless, they all have fancy names to help us understand the specifics of it. When reality, you're just tapping into the collective consciousness. You're connecting into all of the information that's happening all at once simultaneously. And even though the third eye chakra is associated with psychic senses and intuition, it is also associated with thinking, judgment, and discernment. Naturally, this is something that you would have to do when you are activating all of these other senses. It's coming into your body or into your mind as information, and your brain has to process it. And so that is another way that the third eye chakra is also activated. So what are some signs of a balanced third eye chakra? A sign of a balanced third eye chakra is gaining intuition or information through your psychic senses that are clean and not really chaotic. So when anybody opens the third eye chakra, you can have an influx of just an overwhelming amount of information. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good information, it's just information. So you could be having entities or energies walk around in your home, or you could have intrusive thoughts coming into your head. You could be having all of these weird psychic experiences, but a balanced third eye chakra will have it filtered cleanly and it won't be too overwhelming or disturbing. Now, this is obviously going to take some practice because there are other things that are involved. So sometimes you do need to have your lower chakras balanced, like the root chakra. You really should be grounded in the present moment. You definitely have to be spiritually protected. So a lot of people that are going through awakenings, they will just have these weird experiences similar to what I had. I started astral traveling and I started connecting with these entities and hearing voices and things like that. Well, in the very beginning, it was terrifying because all of these weird disembodied voices were just coming through and it was just terrifying me. But after I learned the practice of intention and cleaning my energy and making sure that my home was also clean of energy, the information that I started to receive was more intentional and practical and useful. Another sign of a balanced third eye chakra is the use of good discernment. And so now that you are using your psychic senses and your physical senses to gain information about your environment and just your experience in general, well, the next step is to use good discernment so that you can make good judgment of what information is coming through. So you're not necessarily judging a situation just based on your physical five senses, but you're also using your psychic senses as well. So you're using some of your intuition and your gut feelings about a situation or a person. And with all of that information that is coming through, you're able to make the best judgment call about that particular person or situation. Because sometimes we can be around somebody who is perfect and checks all the boxes, and everyone loves them, but for some reason you just don't feel very comfortable around them. And so usually before your awakening or before working on your third eye, you would probably be inclined to doubt yourself, maybe think that you're just being judgmental or that you're weird for being the only person that has a weird feeling about this person. But after working on the third eye chakra, you really should get comfortable with just honoring that particular feeling. You'll take in the information that your physical senses are picking up, but you're also definitely going to respect the energy that you're also picking up as well. And I mean, honestly, 9 times out of 10, your intuition's going to be right. Now, I do want to mention one thing, and I'm just using this as an example, so I don't mean to offend anyone. There's no judgment regardless, but it's in regards to the vaccine. During the events of 2020, right, there were a lot of people that they went against their own discernment and they made decisions in regards to their health and, what they put in their body that went against what their intuition was actually telling them. And I don't blame anyone. It's not anyone's fault. It's a whole thing, and it gets me heated even talking about it. But it's not anyone's fault. It's a bigger thing than that. But I have met so many people who really did not want to get it. They didn't feel like it was smart. There wasn't enough time. They really didn't want to get it, but they ended up getting it because they were basically forced to in one way or another. Now, everyone is individualized, and so who really knows why each person made the decision that they made, but there definitely, that situation was probably a good example of not practicing good discernment. And everything happens for a reason. And, ultimately, it is something that had to happen anyway. So it's fine. It doesn't really matter, because we wouldn't be able to get to where we are today had that not happened, because sometimes we have to have things happen and we have to learn from these things to really truly awaken. So, when I was meditating and I was trying to think of an example of discernment, it was just that whole situation that came up. And, I was an ER nurse during that time, and it was pretty wild to just watch it unfold right in front of me. And, I had already gotten information about it. And so I, made my decision to not do that. I was pretty much the only one who didn't. And it was interesting to see people come into the ER after they had gotten it. And they just kept saying, like, I knew I shouldn't have gotten it. And they had so much regret, but they didn't really want to admit it. And it was just a sad situation. So anyway, just using that as an example. Another sign of a balanced third eye chakra is the ability to critically think through a situation. So this would be more of the mental aspect of the third eye chakra rather than the intuitive aspect. But really, you're going to be using your psychic senses, your physical senses, and then you will be practicing discernment and passing some sort of judgment on which way to go. And then once you make that decision, then you will critically think your way through that situation to find a solution. And so it is fun to practice your intuition and to open your third eye and, get all these like psychic and intuitive like abilities, but you still have to use your brain on a human level and think your way through it. So what are some signs of an imbalanced third eye chakra? Well, one sign is if you are easily taken advantage of. This could be because you're not exercising your psychic senses or using your intuition through a situation. This could be because you're not really critically thinking through a situation. But anyone who uses their intuition and critically thinks about anything or anyone, it really should be pretty difficult to take advantage of that person. I mean, it's possible that another chakra is out of balance. And so, potentially you could have these intuitive feelings come through, but then maybe you decide to ignore them because you want to be liked or something like that. And so that's more like solar plexus chakra issues. But ideally, you would just want all of the chakras to be balanced simultaneously, because you will end up using a lot of the chakras in tandem with other ones. Another sign of an imbalanced third eye chakra is that they are easily influenced by malevolent beings. So when a lot of people go through a spiritual awakening, their third eye starts to open and they start connecting with spirits and angels, and they're using tarot cards, and they're just having all of these psychic situations and experiences. Well, sometimes if they don't take the time to work on their chakras, get really grounded, then they kind of just get really excited that they're having the experiences just in general. And because of that, malevolent beings or beings that really don't have the best intentions for you can influence you and also take advantage of you. I knew a woman who was going through a spiritual awakening, and I think maybe within 6 or 7 months of her awakening, she decided to become a tarot reader. And she started putting herself out there, and she was giving tarot readings, and I think she's still giving tarot readings to this day. But I questioned her decision-making on that because I really wasn't sure if it was wise. And so I decided to meditate on the situation, because I found she had given me tarot readings before just for fun so that she could practice. And I found that oftentimes her readings for me were actually projections of her own life and her own situation that she was just trying to reflect in my tarot reading, right? So, for example, she was having trouble with this guy and she found out that he was cheating on her, right? So then she gives me a tarot reading and she suggests that my current partner was cheating on me. Okay. I knew that wasn't the case, but I found that interesting that she was kind of just projecting a little bit. So obviously that was a red flag. So I decided to meditate on it. And what I got was that there were actually darker energies around her. And this made perfect sense because all of these bad things kept happening to her. She had a fire in her home, just one, like she disconnected from her entire family. I mean, one thing after another, just bad things kept happening to her. And I mean, it was because there were darker energies around her that are influencing her, but she was so excited that she was connecting with something that she didn't care what it was. She didn't take the time to really protect herself. As long as it didn't scare her, she didn't mind it. But yeah, I obviously had to disconnect from her because I mean, that's just unsafe to be around someone like that, because you are connecting with real entities and energies some of the time. And these energies can know a lot about you. They can implant thoughts into your head. They can just feed off of your most vulnerable secrets and insecurities and things like that. And so it can be super dangerous. And, it worries me that, she's out there practicing, but it is what it is. I can't tell people what to do. The only thing that I can do is make videos like this so that you're kind of aware that these things are out there so you can practice good discernment. Another sign of an imbalanced third eye chakra is making poor judgment calls. So this is a little different than discernment, at least the way that I'm explaining it. Discernment for me is your ability to navigate a situation, whereas making a judgment call about a choice that you're making is now it's more like an action step, basically. And this kind of applies more to people that aren't really actively practicing with their third eye chakra. They're just kind of existing and not really respecting that particular chakra or even acknowledging that that is something that they're able to do. This is more for people who just find themselves in sticky situations all the time. They maybe find themselves, inside someone's home and it's a little unsafe, or they're at a party and it's unsafe, just making really bad judgment calls. This is why you can end up in dangerous situations if you've been drinking alcohol or doing drugs. Right? Alcohol, we know, it lowers your inhibitions. So basically, you're just more open to saying yes to situations than you would be if you were sober. And there is a reason why darker energies like alcoholics or like it when people drink. And it's because your guard is a little bit down and you're not really paying attention to your environment, the people that you're around, and you're probably most likely not even paying attention or acknowledging the energies that are around you, the ones that you can't see. And I used to drink. I was a bartender, and then I had like a short stint of alcoholism and depression. That was before my awakening. And I mean, I've had some fun times, sure. And sometimes I get nostalgic and want to have a good time and maybe want to have like a beer. But it seems like every time I even try to, especially if I'm in a public place, I will end up bringing home some kind of energy. And sometimes there's not even alcohol involved. Sometimes I'll just go to a public space and then I'll come back home and just feel really irritated. Or maybe I'll feel really sad and dark. Just things that aren't normally me. And so, of course, I've learned over time that that's not my energy and I just need to clean it off of me. But it's interesting because usually when this happens, it usually is in an environment where there is heavy drinking involved. And so, people who are drinking a lot probably aren't exercising the best judgment. And so you're still kind of within that same energy, regardless if you were the one to drink, you're still around that kind of energy. But yeah, nothing's ever going to be perfect. So you still want to go out in public spaces and meet with people. And sometimes these people are going to drink, so it's fine. Just, make good choices. That's all. So what are some ways to balance the third eye chakra? Well, the first and probably most obvious way is to meditate. So this is just the practice of sitting down somewhere, closing your eyes, and just quieting your mind. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do it for 30 minutes or an hour. It can just be for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And over time, you'll start to notice that your heart rate will slow down. Your nervous system will slow down. And when you come out of the meditation, you're going to feel much more clear and grounded. And once you've done this particular exercise of just meditating just to quiet your mind, then you can move on to meditate with an intention. And so the intentions are always going to be different for everyone, but a good one would be to just gain useful information that can apply to your life and your current situation. Now, it will be important to set the right intention. Whenever I want information, like for these videos, for example, I will always connect to source frequency, which is God, and any representative that is of source frequency for the highest good for all involved and with the information of the highest truth may only come in. So that negates anything that is a lower vibration, anything that is just an energy that is kind of neutral but doesn't really have the highest truth of information. They are not allowed to come in. But of course, start with quieting your mind first. A fun meditation that you can do is to focus on the center of your forehead. Or you can just think of your third eye and visualize the center of your forehead at the same time. And if you do this for like 5 minutes, you'll start to feel like a tingling sensation in the middle of your forehead. So that's just kind of a fun thing to do for people who want to open their third eye chakra, but really want the evidence to show that it's happening. If you do that, then you'll feel it. Another way to balance your third eye chakra is to practice your intuition by using games. So one particular game is by using Zener cards. So I have some here. So these are Zener cards. These are just cards that you can use to practice your intuition. And so what you can do is just kind of hold them and pick one card and just close your eyes and then try to see if you can get like a visual of what the color is or what the shape is or whatever. This was a cross. I don't know. Maybe I should just play that game with you guys. That'd be fun. And when you do this, it's just practice. It's just fun. Don't beat yourself up if you can't get it right. It's just teaching you how information comes into you. I know that when I play with these cards, I'm on the money in the beginning. But over time, I think I just get mentally exhausted, or the colors and shapes start to blend in with one another. So I can't really sharply come up with a visual. And so, whatever, even the best psychics in the world may not do that well on Zener cards. And I think that there have been, people to debunk psychic mediums out there because they didn't do very well with Zener cards or other tests like that. So don't beat yourself up, just have fun with it. You can also play this game with another person, which I actually find to be way more fun. I'll usually pick someone who's kind of a skeptic, and what I do is I sit close in proximity to them, and we can use the same colors, right? So you'll just pick 5 colors, make it super simple, and you can tell the person okay, I'm gonna think of a color, and we're both gonna close our eyes, and I'm just going to shout out the color. And then while I'm shouting the color to you mentally, I am also going to think of some sort of visual that I'm also going to send to you. And it's so much fun to do this because anytime I've done this game with someone, it has kind of freaked them out of how kind of accurate it is. And I mean, sometimes I'm a little bit more accurate. It really just depends, right? And then of course, some of my professional psychic mediums, like I can't keep up with them. They're so good. But it's just fun to watch people's reaction because then it gives them proof that these things are real, or telepathy is a real thing. And so if you can even just play those games, you get better and you build more confidence. And so when you're able to build more confidence with just that particular game, then you can move on to applying it to the rest of your life. Another way to balance your third eye chakra is to just follow your intuition or your gut feeling. Sometimes we have a feeling about something or someone, but we go against it because we don't know why we have these feelings. It's not logical. It doesn't make any sense. But usually what happens is that your gut feeling is right. And you can sometimes get yourself in a sticky or bad situation because you didn't follow your intuition. And so the more often you follow your intuition, the more often you'll see that you're right about the situation. And the more experiences like that you have, the better at it that you'll become, and the bigger of decisions you can make using your intuition. And then if you follow your gut feeling about something and then you end up being wrong, then that gives you the ability to actually learn about more of how this information comes into you. So were you actually wrong, or were you actually picking up on somebody else's energy? Because that happens oftentimes too. This is why it was important for me to disconnect from that previous woman that I mentioned earlier, the tarot reader, because the energy and the information that was coming in to her that she was connecting with was contradicting the information that I was getting, because I set a clear intention of where I want this information to come from. I want it to come from source frequency, okay? And source frequency is just God to me, right? And so she was getting information from deities and things like that, which is fine. But if I'm going to connect with a deity for information, they have to represent source frequency, because source frequency is the creator of all existence. So if anything is going to know anything about any situation, it's going to be the creator of all existence. And so anyway, sometimes you can pick up on other people's energies. And so I don't want you to think that, you have bad intuition or you can't do it. You very well are probably doing it. You're probably just picking up on the wrong frequency. So the intention just needs to be a little bit more clear. But can you imagine getting to a place where you are making some really big decisions in your life based on your intuition and your psychic senses, but critically thinking your way after that using your physical senses and just your brain power? Like, just imagine where you might end up in life. You could end up like in a completely different country with the love of your life, making millions of dollars because you were tapping into your third eye. There's a lot of potential for your life to change in the most beautiful way if you just honor that spiritual gift that you have, because you have it. We all do. Remember, you are a spiritual being first. That spiritual being is connected to everything. And so why not let that kind of guide you every once in a while? And you'll know that you're going in the right direction if things just keep falling into place. But I'm going to make a separate video about that because I have a lot of stories for that. So stay tuned. So some body parts that are associated with the third eye would be the brain, obviously, the pineal gland, and the skull. Some foods that are associated with the third eye are salt and leafy green vegetables. I asked if all vegetables were good for opening the third eye, and they said no. Leafy greens specifically are good because it's lighter and it gives you the minimal nutrients that you need, but it also keeps you a little bit lighter so that you can connect. And then salt, I'm assuming, is because, sodium is really important for the brain. And so, at least I know from nursing that sometimes if you have low sodium levels, it can throw you into a seizure. So I'm assuming that's where that comes from. Some crystals that you can use to help open up or balance your third eye chakra would be amethyst and moldavite. Full disclaimer though about moldavite, you just need to be a little careful. You should do your research before working with moldavite. I personally had no problem, but I know that there have been people out there who have worked with moldavite and then just their life turned upside down. So just be aware of that. Do your research on moldavite before using it. And I actually have one affirmation for you. And the affirmation is, I clearly see. I asked for more and they were like, no, that's it. I clearly see. But with that being said, I hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.